Hey, welcome back. It's a new day and the engine is still on my table here. So last time we separated the cranks like this. And now we're gonna take out all the internals, the gearbox here, the shifting mechanism, the filter, the oil filter, also the balancer shaft and the crankshaft, with the goal to have the case halves then completely empty. We're gonna also remove all the bearings in here because I want to replace them since we are in here anyway. And then yeah, once that's done, we're gonna clean everything up and make sure it looks nice again and not dirty as it is now. And then once that's done, we're gonna put in all the bearings, assemble it back again, and put on a big bore kit. So let's go. Actually, on this half of the case there is nothing really to remove. You could remove this little plate here, but it actually just covers this bypass down here, so it's not really necessary. And yeah, I got the fuel, the oil screw already out. And then later on we can also remove this part here, which just covers the neutral gear sensor, which would be in place for S and SM models, but not on this one. So not any major components. The shift shaft, we're gonna leave this one in place since it's still good, and this one really doesn't go bad anytime soon, and it's just a struggle to get it out. So I'm gonna leave that aside for now. Now in here we can remove the oil filter. So that's this little strainer here, and actually on my bike it is so messed up, so gunked up. That's all the particles I already told you from the airbox breather assembly you can see in here. I hope you can kind of, maybe let's spread them on a glove. So if you see something like this, it's not an organic matter, it's actually just the filter disintegrating, and actually it will just gunk up this filter here crazily. So I really need to clean that well later on to make sure that's not gonna stay inside of the engine. So that's one part. Then we can go ahead and remove the balancer shaft. That should be really easy. Just slide that out. We already have the pins removed, so that's not going to be a big deal. I don't see any signs of wear here. Also not on the other side where the bearing meets the shaft, so that's great. Now we can go ahead and remove the shift shaft itself. It's a bit slippery, but yes, I can get them out with my glove here. So just remove this piece here and this piece here on the other side, and slide the C or the C out. Then there's another one. You can also use these ones as a tool to kind of get them out more easily. 28C, what's this one? That's the 2D, that's the 1D, got it. And then we have the last one. To remove that, it's best to remove the shift shaft. Now watch out on the S and SM models. There is a spring-loaded pin in here and in here, just for the neutral gear sensor. Make sure to not lose them. And then that's the other shift fork. And now with that done, we can basically just go ahead and take the gearing out. Be a bit careful, some stuff might just slip away. You need to kind of wiggle them out. So that's one part, and then this one here is the other part of the gearbox. So that's already it for that part. Now let's quickly inspect the gears. So this gear actually looks pretty good. This one here has some scorings to it. Nothing major, but maybe I should replace it. I'll double check it later on once it's cleaned. Otherwise I cannot see any real issues with it, and I also didn't have any issues. It was shifting well, no big problems here, no chipped off parts or anything. This one here you can see some signs of wear as well. And remember, this gearbox probably has around 25k minimum, 25,000 kilometers minimum. So that still looks okay. Maybe we're gonna replace a few gears here and there just to make sure it's perfect again. And I'll double check, maybe I'll even get some wide ratio gears for that. But yeah, let's see. So now that's out. Actually the last thing we need to get out here before we remove the bearings would be the crankshaft. And for that I'm just gonna build something to kind of put the crankcase level just the opposite way to then push the crankshaft out. You could do it standing basically, but it just has a higher tendency of catching up with the bearing, and I just want to do it as smooth as possible. So yeah, see you in a bit. Now see this highly professional construction here I made to pull the crankshaft out. I'm just gonna hold it from underneath so it won't just drop out. But here I just set it up on the case, and basically we can just press it out now. There will be some squeaking going on, but it should take minimal force. And you can just see that here dropping out. And it won't take long anymore. Yep. There we go. So there we have the crankshaft as well. And now we basically have the two case halves like this. I'm gonna remove the puller on this side, and then we're gonna punch out all these bearings here. On this side it's really easy, on the other side we need some special tools, but I'm gonna show that to you in a bit. Before we remove these bearings here, we actually need to undo these little clips here. So to do that you can either use your air impact gun, or I do have such an impact driver. You basically put it on here, hold it tight, and then just give it a tap with the hammer. And actually this one already came loose. Same on this side here. Okay, now let's put them aside and just torque them down a bit so they don't move. Now, when that's done, we can just put it to the other side. And now to make the process a bit smoother, I'm just going to use a hot air gun and heat up the whole case. Then they will just drop out a bit nicer, because aluminum will expand much more under heat than steel. So that's going to be an easy job. Yeah, that's okay for now. It's not hot. It's probably around 40 degrees Celsius. But now we can just take a socket. And now we're gonna destroy the bearing, of course, with that, but we're gonna replace them, so I don't care. There we go. First one is out. Second one as well. And now let's get to the bigger ones. and then to the main bearing. There we go, all the bearings are out, so we can now get this case cleaned. There's also no O-rings to it. You could technically remove all these bolts, also remove this one, but I'm not gonna bother with it since that's gonna be clean anyway once we are done. So that's the first half. Let's put that aside. Now with this one it's a bit more tricky since we have blind bearings. So this one is a blind bearing, you cannot get to it from the other side. This one is a blind bearing as well. It's actually a bit stuck. Okay, then yeah, basically these ones are blind bearings and we're gonna need a special puller for that. And to do that, I'm gonna heat up the case a bit more and then we did with the other ones. So make it like quite a bit hot so it gets uncomfortable to touch. And then we can get out all these bearings here as well. So I guess first off, let's just remove the seals here to get some more leverage. Best way I found usually is to use a flat head. Don't push it all the way in, you don't want to scratch the surface here. And once you have done that, it's usually best not to pry it out like this, but to kind of twist your screwdriver a bit. This makes it a bit easier to do. So there we go, this one is out. This seal actually I can try, but usually that won't pop right out like this. That's a bit harder to do. So what I'm usually doing is I'm just gonna punch it through from this side and then get it out. So let's put that aside. I'm now gonna heat up the case and I'm also gonna remove this block off plate so we can get to all the needle bearings as well. Now let's go easy first. Main bearing here, drive that out. And now for these ones here, we're gonna need a special puller. What I'm gonna use here is this one here, kind of a blind bearing puller. Let's get the right size. This one you're just gonna put in, then you're gonna screw it tightly, heat up everything, and then we're gonna use this hammer here to slide it out. So I'm gonna heat it up a bit more and tighten this one, and then we can try getting it out. Whew. There we go. Woohoo! Last bearing out, or at least one of the last. Now we're gonna get the needle bearings here out, one for the shift shaft. And what I'm usually gonna do is I'm gonna use the puller, the blind bearing puller we used here, and then strap that on here and kind of just push it through. There we go, we got the bearing and the O-ring out. Usually they're a bit pain in the butt to take out the seal, so I just smack them out together. And then here for this one here, last bearing out. Now we do have all the bearings out. I'm just gonna clean up this mess here, and then we can go ahead with the fun part, start scrubbing the case halves, make them look bright and shiny again. And I'm gonna show you what I usually use, and maybe you have some better options. You could basically just vapor blast them or whatever, but I don't have the tools to do that, so I'm gonna do it garage style.